Okay, we are back live with another edition of PB Betting College Football Podcast here with my co-host, Mr. Jared Paisley. After our bye week, after the regular season and conference championship games, took a little week off, little delayed this week as well. I know we both have had busy schedules, but we wanted to hop on here and break down this first round of the college football playoff game. Mr. Paisley, how's it going?
Going good, Case. Yeah, it's been a while here. Took a little bye week and then a little extended break, but we gotta get our rest and relaxation in. Hasn't been too restful here with our corporate lives. I put out a tweet before here letting the people know that the jobs and everything else, family stuff going on. So we are back in business now, ready for the weekends. Hopefully, you get this in before Friday night's game, and then we'll also preview the 3 on Saturday, so you have a little bit of time. But yeah, we're back in the saddle, ready to preview these first round matchups.
Yeah, and of course we are not taking any corporate time, of course, to upload our video here, certainly. So, yeah. With that being said, we might as well jump right into it. We got 4 games. Hopefully, if you're listening to this, it's Saturday, so maybe we already have the result of tonight's game. But this is being published on Friday, so hopefully you catch us before the Alabama-Oklahoma game. But Paisley, probably the best one. Well, we got 2 pretty much good games with Miami and A&M, and then we got Alabama-Oklahoma. And then, of course, the group of 5 teams as well on Saturday with bigger spreads. But we might as well start with the rematch. We got Alabama and Oklahoma. This game is going to be played in Norman. They got the home game. They won the first go-around. Now we got a rematch game here. Interested to hear your thoughts. But my initial takeaway is I feel like this game's being drowned out a little bit just because it's the rematch. There doesn't seem to be as much hype as the Miami Texas A&M game, but I think this could be a really good game. And it seems like most of Vegas and most of the public is kind of on Oklahoma, but this is almost a coin flip spread. It's only 1.5. Total is really low, especially for SEC games, only at 40.5 right now. But interested to hear your thoughts, Paisley. This is Friday night, 8:00 under the lights in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think just one thing to start with all these first round matchups here, you just look to last year's sample size, and the first round home teams did very well. So that's just something I want to keep in mind going through, because it's a very unique matchup here on campus sites. Some of the spreads were a little larger last year, a little bit tighter here, but I'm going to lean the home team in this one as well, Case, to start us off. Definitely one of my stronger plays, actually. I do like Oklahoma quite a bit. I think it's a little rinse and repeat from the last time. I really wanted to take Alabama because I was trying to go a little contrarian. I know a lot of people, as you said, are not going to be on Alabama. It's going to be an Oklahoma-heavy game, which you haven't seen as much movement. I thought this would swing a little bit more, but I think there's quietly some Alabama money. These playoff games are going to get bet like crazy, almost like the NFL playoffs and Super Bowl. So there's going to be a lot of action both sides, but I think definitely more support is on the home slight favorite here. Would also lean a little under, but don't love it as much. There's plenty of boosts and stuff out there on DraftKings and FanDuel, so make sure you shop around for those if you want to play in this game. But yeah, I just think it's going to be very similar. I just think Oklahoma, their last 2 games have been a little clunky against LSU and I forget the game before, but definitely had some closer calls. But Alabama's been in the same boat too. These teams are profiled pretty similarly. Offense is kind of stuck in the mud. With decent quarterbacks, but just can't really get it going. They have trouble running the ball, and then their passing game, they really put a lot of pressure relying on that. But I just kind of take Oklahoma overall in this game. I really love their defense. I think it's way better than Alabama's. I think Alabama has been playing some good defense, but the offense just can't seem to catch up. You don't have to look too far back to that Georgia game, and Georgia was on a tear, but Alabama was a little beat up. They have a week off to get a little healthy, but not sure if Jam Miller is going to play. He's going to be a game-time decision, the running back, so that'd be key to see if he plays or not. I think Ty Simpson's dealing with a little injury. He does not look right ever since maybe it was this Oklahoma game. It's been 2 or 3 weeks. They're saying potentially a back injury. His accuracy has gone down, and they put a lot on his plate. That's why they were winning those games, those close games of Vandy, Missouri, kind of middle of the season, and he was pulling them out with that passing game. But now with him being injured, the offensive line's not holding up as well. It's just too much to ask, and he's just not really living up to it. So they don't have a good ground attack. The passing game hasn't been what it's been early in the season. So I just think Alabama's trending in the wrong direction. So I was looking to go a little contrarian and be like, well, let's see if I could take Alabama here at a cheap number, but I just couldn't get their case. I just don't like what I saw recently from them. Don't love Oklahoma overall, too. Don't really love both these teams. Would have liked to fade both of them if they were playing, but of course they get matched up against each other. But I think the home crowd's going to be rocking. I think the defense is going to be flying all over the place. I think their offense could do enough in this game. I trust Jean Mateer enough here to get it done with his legs, maybe a little bit. I think they could run the ball a little bit more effectively than Alabama. But I think it's going to be an absolute grind. I mean, you see the total at 41. I think it's 40 right now. Points are going to be very hard to come by. So I think it's going to be an absolute defensive rock fight battle. But I just think Oklahoma at home, I trust Venables more on that defensive side. Just don't like what I'm hearing with DeBoer and what's going on with Alabama recently too. Just floating his name out. I mean, the Auburn game, they got pretty fortunate there after a late collapse there. Could have easily lost that if Auburn just played a little cleaner. So this is one of my stronger plays, maybe my favorite one of the weekend to start us off here Friday night, but I'll be taking the Oklahoma money line. I wouldn't even fool around with the -1, -2, because I think this could be a very, NFL style 13-16 or like some like stupid score. I mean, you look at the last matchup, 23-21. So I think it's going to be a lot of field goals, which I do give the edge to Oklahoma too. They have probably the best kicker, one of the best kickers in the nation, which is going to come in handy here in these playoff games when it's going to be tight and points are at a premium. So I'll be taking the Sooners here. Let's go Boomer Sooner to get us started here on Friday night.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the rare times, Paisley. I think myself, Mr. Alabama, might have to pick against the Crimson Tide here.
Oh, wow.
I'm worried from how they looked against Georgia. I did not expect that performance. I thought they would come out, even though they were a little banged up, with a little bit more of a fight, because we weren't that high on Georgia really all year until, all of a sudden it seems like they're ascending at the right time. And I think they are a legitimate threat to win the whole thing now after what went on the last 2 weeks. But I think you said it best. I don't really love either of these teams. I don't think either of these teams could, beat Ohio State or really beat a lot of other teams in the playoffs. I think I'd take Oregon over both these teams. So this is going to be a weird game. I lean Oklahoma because they're at home. I think if this thing was in Alabama, I think that home crowd could make the difference. The spread kind of indicates that. But I just can't get that performance of the last few weeks with Alabama getting blown out really against Georgia. Almost lost the Auburn game to a not great Auburn team. Of course, the rumors with Kalen DeBoer and Michigan and all these other things. I don't want to put too much, on that, because I think no matter who the coach, I think, the media, I think, drives a lot of that. Maybe, he's doing a better job with distractions than maybe it seems, but who knows? But it's still out there. And then, yeah, I mean, they last played Oklahoma. They lost. They didn't look great in that game. They didn't look great against LSU. And I think I said it, when we were on 2 weeks ago before we took our break. I think, Alabama just seems to be leaking oil the last 4 weeks. They maybe got burnt out just a little bit too much in that like 6 to 8 week stretch when they were playing really good, but something has seemed to happen. Not in love with Oklahoma either, but I think it's just a little bit more of a sell on Alabama for me for really the first time all year. And then also I just like, anytime we have home prime time at night, I mean, I think you're right. I think Oklahoma's defense can be flying around. I could see like a big turnover, get the crowd involved. All that being said, it is tough to beat a team twice. So, keep that in mind. I think that's also why we have the spread so close, kind of like an NFL game. But I'm with you here. I'm going to lean Oklahoma to win the game.
Yeah, then just last point, just looking at Alabama's away games. So they've been decent at home, and that's where they got their margins of victory in some of those games. But they've only played a couple, and they really haven't looked impressive at any of them. So you start the Florida State game. We all know what happened there, lost by 14. The Georgia game, which everyone points to as their big win, they were up in that game, had a good start, and then really got lucky late with Georgia blundering and dropping a touchdown pass. They could have lost that one, only won by 3. The Missouri game, also another one that was super close. Missouri had a chance late, only won by 3. The South Carolina game, everyone remembers that. Should have lost that game, honestly, even outright. That was ridiculous. And then the last game at Auburn didn't look great. So I just think this team is not great on the road. Kalen DeBoer has been really good at home, but you take them out on the road, it's going to be a rocks environment, juiced up, ready to go. They do have the narrative that, they shouldn't be in here, and a lot of people are saying their name should have been over them and everything. So maybe they could play that card and play the motivation, but I just think it's a tough ass to go on the road to a hostile environment at night here to kick us off. I think it's going to be a rock in there in Norman, so it's going to be fun. And Alabama has not looked good on the road, and I think it's going to show.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So we'll see. It's always dangerous, though, Paisley. We're both on Oklahoma, so if you're listening out there and you want to go against us, now's your chance, because could be rare. Watch Alabama will go out and win this game like 35-3 or something. But no, I like the home team here. Going on to Saturday, of course, probably the best first round game of the year here in the college football playoff is at noon. It's in Texas A&M, a great night atmosphere, but they get slotted with the noon game. They got Miami coming to town. Both these teams, not to throw shade here at our Notre Dame fan, but beat Notre Dame. It was kind of the reason why both of these teams are here and not Notre Dame. But it's going to be it should be a good game. The spread's only 3 points. Miami, a strange team, started out the season so hot. They look good. Carson Beck looked really good. They have that really good wide receiver. And then we all know what happened. They got upset a couple of times. They lost that Friday night game to Louisville. They lost to SMU in overtime. And then A&M, who was, in the driver's seat pretty much all throughout the fall in the SEC, 11-0, number 3 in the country, lost to Texas last game of the season. And now all of a sudden there's a ton of questions about Texas A&M because even they had a few close calls. And not only Notre Dame on the 4th down play, but they had a couple. Arkansas was a shootout, took, a crazy 4th quarter comeback to beat a limping South Carolina team. So there's a ton of questions, I think, really around both these teams. It should be a fun one, even though it's at noon. Both these teams, haven't really been in this situation in the modern era, a chance to advance to the quarterfinals here and win a national championship. I think both these teams think they could for how open it is. So a lot of talent on both sides. The spread shows it's only 3, A&M with a slight edge, and they are the home team. Paisley, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this one's tough. I'm really back and forth in this one on the side. This has moved in both directions with the side and the total. So it's kind of opened 5.5 all the way down to 3 now. So definitely a lot of support for Miami. And then the total was 51-52, now down to 47. So definitely some movement on Miami, the dog, and the under in this game to start. I am also on that under money. I did take that early on. I still have not played the side, actually. I'm still waiting to see what this market does. Now you're down to a flat 3 at places. So I'm looking if it gets under 3, probably playing Texas A&M. This one for me, like you said, don't like both these teams for obvious reasons, but I really don't like Miami. But I would have to maybe take the emotion out of it. I think I'd maybe lean them with the points. This again, I'm still really torn on it. I'm honestly not sure which way I want to lean. Might just stay away from it in general, but I don't know what to believe of both these teams because at their peaks, they look really good and they're very talented. And, both defenses can play well. If their offenses are clicking, we could see the top end talent that both these teams have. But then we also saw the bottom end, like you said, with those 2 losses with Miami that were horrendous with multiple turnovers, getting pushed around by Louisville and SMU. So now you're going to go on the road and push around Texas A&M at home. I don't know. But then you flip it over to the other side with Texas A&M, who just got beat by Texas by 10. Texas team that was struggling, put it together at the end of the season there. But I just don't know what to make of both these teams, Case. And I want to play Texas A&M. I want them to beat down Miami just for obvious reasons. But I just fully don't trust them in this spot. Now, do I trust Miami? Not really. So I might just stay away from the side on this one. I like the under. I just think it's going to be a clunky game back and forth. I think Miami's defense has been playing pretty well the last 3 or 4 weeks, but it's also the ACC. So it's like it's very hard to tell because they've been beating up on these teams like NC State, Syracuse, Pitt, that Notre Dame also beat up on. But it's like they weren't the best competition. They were motivated, ready to go. This is a whole different animal now. They look good against Pitt the last game of the season. They also scored throwing fade routes with 30 seconds left to make this final score look a little better than it is. So how are they going to react in a tight game, maybe when they're down? They really haven't been playing from a behind game state maybe since that Louisville game and SMU game, and it didn't turn out well. So if they get jumped on early, if Texas A&M jumps out to a lead, Miami's not used to playing that style, and I think Carson Beck can make a lot of mistakes. So I do trust Marcel Reed over him. So it's a very tough game. But then, like you said, that South Carolina game, I just can't get out of my head with Texas A&M at home. Like, was it just a bad spot? Did they really expose some things? So I love the home field advantage from Texas A&M, but like you said, they got down 30-3 or whatever it was against South Carolina, who was way less than Miami here. So this one I've just been going back and forth so much on, and I'm just not sure where to land. But I'll be on the under. I like the first half under. The numbers kind of moved a little bit, but I think Miami's defense has been playing good. I think they're going to slow down Texas A&M. And then I just don't fully trust this Miami offense. That's where I'm struggling to really back Miami. I know they look good. They have Malachi Toney, but if you take him away, I don't think they have much else. They don't run the ball particularly well. So it is going to be a lot on Carson Beck, and throwing on the road in a hostile environment doesn't really sound like a recipe for success. So this is where I'm so torn. I could see the people that took the 5.5, 4.5 early. You see what the top end that Texas A&M could do offensively with those receivers, but they've been sputtering the last couple of weeks. And, they got lucky in that South Carolina game coming all the way back. But Texas really put out a blueprint where if you just rush 3 or 4, drop back, make Marcel Reed go through his reads. And if you get pressure with 4 and 3, which Miami does have a pretty good defensive line. So I feel like both matchups highlight the area that the other team struggles. And I'm kind of just at a gridlock here, and I'm not sure what to do because I think it's just such an evenly matched matchup. But for my heart, I'll be rooting for Texas A&M to blow them out. But if I had to pick, I'm going to see where this number settles, maybe do a little more research on my end, but kind of leaning Miami with the points. But if it gets under 3, might be a different story. I'm still not sure, Case.
Yeah, I think that's a good analysis. I'm kind of I kind of agree where both teams are hard to trust. We've seen a lot of highs on both teams, and we've also seen some pretty, questionable, sloppy football by both of them. I'm just going to stick with my initial gut here and make a pick with Texas A&M. I think they're going to get it done at home. I trust them just a little bit more than Miami. I don't really trust either, like you just said, but I don't trust this Miami team at all. I'm going to favor what we are, we get shoved down our throats, the SEC, and how much better they are than all these other conferences. I'm going to give a point to them, and I'm going to stick with Texas A&M just for those reasons. I think overall they've played a more solid year. They've been a little bit more consistent, not a ton, because like those games that we just talked about, but I trust them a little bit more. Also, they're at home, which helps. We haven't seen any of these home teams lose yet, so give that another point for me. And I want to take Miami for the reasons of like Malachi Tony and, chip on their shoulder, that, a lot of and stuff like that. But I just don't trust this Miami team. I don't trust the ACC. I mean, come on, Duke has won this conference, no matter how it happened and no matter how the schedule's all panned out. At the end of the day, is Miami has 2 pretty bad losses on their schedule. A&M has won against Texas after going 11-0. They're at home. The spread's close, and it got me thinking maybe Miami comes in and upsets them. They're starting to get hot at the right time, but I'm going to drown out all that noise. I'm going to stick with my initial gut, stick with the home team. I think A&M gets it done. I think they could win it by a touchdown, so I'll take them minus the points. Also, I think this game could be high scoring. Also, just for how much talent is on each side of the ball and offensively, we'll see. Marcel Reed has shown, signs to be able to just to sling the ball and get the receivers going. So there's a chance we could get in a little bit of a shootout type of game. I think if that happens, I also would trust A&M a little bit more. But we'll see. At home, even though it's at noon, I'm going to stick with them here. It is a hard pick. Not going to be stunned either way. I think I like Oklahoma a lot more against Alabama than I like A&M here. But I stick with them. Give me the home team to get it done here.
No, that's great points. And I think, if you had to go on a trust factor, like you said, we don't really love both these teams, but there is just more variables. I think I trust, like with the home field, I trust the quarterback more. Obviously, I trust the coach more. That's something we also did not discuss. I think Mike Elko is way better than Mario Cristobal and what they got going on there. So just I do trust Texas A&M. Yeah. Hopefully those blunders, were just little midseason blunders. Hopefully they come sharp, ready to go here. And they've been more battle tests. Like you said, they played harder schedule, played harder teams, been in closer games. Like you look at that LSU game that they popped at the end and won by 20. They were down at halftime. So they're battle tested. Miami really does not respond well. So they kind of have to be up and win these games and lead from the start. So I'll officially switch my case. I'll go Texas A&M with you too. I'll lean there as well.
Love it. That's what we need. The 12th. So we're 2-0 here, Paisley. Could we complete the grand slam here and get all 4 of the same picks? Because I'm sure if that happens, we'll probably go 0-4.
Probably.
All right. So that was Miami A&M, probably the best game. And now to wrap it up, we'll do these probably a little bit quicker. We got 2 quarterfinal games. Great campuses. We got Tulane going to Oxford. Going to be a fun game, I think, just because of the storylines around, Lane Kiffin leaving. Ole Miss is kind of like all over the place. Some players are talking about transfer portal, and yet they could still really compete for a national championship. And I do think, I'm not even just saying that, I think after watching the Ohio State-Indiana game, I think really this field is more open than really we've seen ever. I think we'll see. I mean, I think those 2 teams are better, Ohio State and Indiana, than everyone else, but we'll still have to shake out. So we got Tulane coming to town, going to Oxford, 11-2. They won the American Conference. It was kind of a, crazy conference all season long. Multiple teams had different leads in it. We talked about, South Florida, North Texas, all these different teams, and it ends up being Tulane, which I don't think a lot of people had on their radar early in the season. I think they have that head-to-head win against Duke also from September, probably their biggest win of the season. But the spread here on this one is a lot. It's 17.5. The other game is 20.5, which we'll get to. So not expecting a great game. And I don't think really many people are thinking they have a shot in this one, but maybe they could cover the points here. Going to Ole Miss, it's 3:30. Paisley, your thoughts on this one, Tulane at Ole Miss?
Yeah, I think this game and the last one of the day are kind of similar in my estimation. I really wanted to make a case for the dogs because, it's just a lot of points and it could be fun. But in my heart, in my gut, I just think these are going to be bloodbath case. I think it's going to be really bad. I like this Tulane team for the American Conference. I think they're a very solid team. Love John Summerall. I think he's done a great job. I think he's going to do really good at Florida. I think he's a really good coach. But now you got him trying to recruit guys at Florida. He's playing both hats. I love that he stayed with Tulane. But you're not maybe getting your full attention on this game because you're trying to set up things for your new job. So don't love that. Retzlaff, the quarterback, has been very up and down. When he's good, it's good and he can light it up. But when it's bad, like that Thursday night game a couple weeks ago against UTSA in the Dome, they lost by 22 because he threw 4 or 5 interceptions. So it's going to be really dependent on him. Can he take care of the ball, play clean? Tulane's defense has been decent, but we saw this matchup early in the year. I just think they're not going to be able to slow Ole Miss down at all. The only chance I think they have is if the offense kind of gets going for Tulane and scores a little bit on this Ole Miss defense that we don't think too highly of. But I think for this one game sample size at home, you got the motivation. They want to prove to the world, hey, we're legit. We don't need Lane Kiffin. So I think the defense is going to be fired up and playing, if they were playing another SEC team or a top 10 team, I don't think that motivation would matter. But now when you're stepping down this much in class, when you have the better athletes and you might have more motivation, I think it could be pretty scary. So I really think Ole Miss is going to come out and lay a nice performance here, both sides of the ball. I don't see their offense getting stopped much at all. Chambliss has been playing really well late in the season, especially that Mississippi State game, which I think was the last data point that we saw them in. Like, he just does such a good job. He even missed a couple deep throws, and they still had a couple missed opportunities. They scored like 35 or 40. So I think they're going to name their number here. I'd also like the over 2 in this one on a parlay. Not parlay it, but I kind of like it in conjunction with the favorite here. So I think Ole Miss is going to put up a ton of points. I think Tulane will find it the end zone a couple times, but I think by 4 quarters at the end of the game, I think it's just going to be too much Ole Miss here with the motivation for this one game sample size. Now, will I like Ole Miss going forward? Probably not. I think this might be the last time, depending on the number in the next round. But I think this matchup, this spot, they've been hearing all the noise. They've been practicing hard. They want to win for each other. So give me Ole Miss here. I think they route them up pretty good, Case.
Yeah, good point. Also, keep in mind, well, this is my opinion kind of, but I feel like the group of 5, like this team is not, near as good as Boise State was last year. I think this group of 5, and it's actually unfortunate. I'll take this moment not to throw shade at James Madison and Tulane. It's really not their fault. It's more the system that we're playing in. But like, if you're Ole Miss, you got to be somewhat like disappointed. Like, you're hosting a playoff game, a game that's supposed to be, ride or die championship, bring in a top 5, top 10 team. Instead, you have, Tulane coming to town, and, maybe they'll win this game and we'll, look like complete idiots with that one. But I just don't see it. I agree. I think Ole Miss, I think they run up the score. I think they're going to do what they can. I think they're just way more talented. I don't think this Tulane team is that, great. They remember that UTSA game that they lost. I just am not, in love with them by any means. And I think, the 17.5, I think like if this game gets played in August or September, we might have like a 24, 25, maybe more point spread. And once again, not trying to, throw all the shade here at these group of 5 teams, but we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We need to change the system. We need to have their own playoff, something to change it up, because we should not be having this game, which is supposed to be one of the best college football days of the year. I think a lot more people are going to be watching the Eagles and the Bears on Saturday than these 2 later playoff games. And I do think that's unfortunate. So all that being said, though, I think Ole Miss runs them. I think they dominate here. I think they're going to cover the spread. And yeah, give me Ole Miss big here.
Yeah, I think this might set a new record for low viewership in these spots here,
Yeah.
3:30 and 7 or 8 whenever the second game's being played. But and just looking, if you gloss over Tulane's schedule in the American, like they had some closer games. Like there really wasn't a lot of games where they really blew the doors off. So except for Temple and Charlotte, but I think everybody could do that. But just some closer match wasn't really looking super impressive in the American. Now you're going to step up against a top 10 SEC team. I don't know. I think this could be disaster, but hopefully, maybe for the viewers' sake, maybe it'll be a little interesting, but I think this has the makings getting pretty ugly.
What was that game? It was a bowl game too. I don't think it was a playoff game, but like Liberty, was that 2 years ago when they lost like 52-0 against like Georgia
That
or
was Liberty against Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl. I
Oregon?
think it was like 66-7. That was with Bo Nix and
Like,
those
what are
guys
we doing?
played. So yeah, they could be maybe reminiscent of that.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that bad, but honestly, like, what are we doing here? All right, and then close it out. We got the fourth game here. James Madison going all the way to Eugene, Oregon. I'm going to take full credit here. I did have James Madison in my playoff in August. I said they'd be the group of 5 representative. Not exactly how it all played out. I didn't think it would play out like this, where we'd get 2 of them in, but because the 8-5 Duke Blue Devils are ACC champions, we have a scenario where 12-1 James Madison is traveling all the way, like 3,000 miles away, to Eugene, Oregon. Spread is 20.5. This might be the record for largest spread in the playoff. I would assume it is. I really don't know that for sure. Also, I have the ESPN link up, Paisley, and this is what's wrong immediately. Tickets are $50 for this game. I mean, come on. Like, you're telling me a college football playoff game in Eugene, Oregon is going for $50 only. I could probably get a round trip ticket and go to this game for like less than $1,000 right now, all the way from Washington, D.C. So that should not be the case. Nonetheless, Oregon should cruise here. Is there any signs that James Madison can stop him? I guess I'll say I actually think that James Madison might have a better shot than Tulane would, in my guess, even though the spread's a little bit more, but I don't expect this game to be close. The spread is just really a really tough one to pick. Interested in your thoughts here. Jam, you have any shot here to keep this thing within 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, I think they do too. I'd actually agree with you a little bit there, Case. I actually think this one could be closer than the Tulane Ole Miss one, but do I wholeheartedly see that? No, I'm going to be on Oregon here too. I'm just going to take both favorites here and let it ride. I get why people are taking the underdogs, like I said, and there's been a lot of support on JMU from guys that I follow or guys that I look at online. So I haven't seen a lot of Tulane support, but have seen a decent amount of JMU support. This one got up to 21.5, 22, and now it's below 20, 21 and just sitting there. So there's definitely a lot of money on JMU here. Their style and what they do kind of could make this game a little closer. They're a run-heavy team, and they're very good defensively. Now, this is in Conference USA. Definitely a lot bigger animal that you're facing in Oregon. If you look at some metrics too with scheduling and who they play in Conference USA, they're like 100 or 110th in strength of schedule. So this is by far going to be a wake-up call and a shock. I don't even know I think their best team was Louisville, and that was like week 3 or 4. And, they competed for most of that game, but that was pretty early on the season. So I think it's just going to be a huge shock to their system. They have the formula to do it if their defense could hold up. That's going to be the question. If Oregon moves the ball here the first couple drives, gets into scoring range, it's going to be a long night. But if they could maybe slow Oregon down a little bit, get a couple punts, and then maybe drawing out a little clock, maybe it's like 7-0 in the second quarter. That's how you're going to be in this ball game. But I think Oregon, I'm on Oregon here because I do like them overall. In the big picture too, I'll be backing them here in this spot. I really like their matchup against Texas Tech, and we'll break down the recaps and then looking forward. But I really don't think Texas Tech is that good. I think they're very overrated. So I think Oregon's going to get a little hot here. I think it starts here with a nice victory. Then I think they can rattle off 1 or 2 more wins and maybe find their way in the national championship. That's how much I like this team. But for this game specifically, it is like weird because JMU does have the formula to do it. Their defense is very good. But like I said, how good? How could you really test it here in Conference USA? I just like Oregon in these spots because they blow out these bad teams. Like they do a really good job. I think back to that Oklahoma State game in week 3 or 4 where there was like 60-3. They just did it to Minnesota not too long ago. So Dan Lanning gets these guys fired up, ready to go. They checked off a lot of good wins along the season at Washington, then the year. The USC game, they played really well. So I think they're at home here. I think it's just a little rinse and repeat. I think Dan Lanning will have these guys juice, and he'll find some type of motivation. He's very good at that. And then they don't really put the pedal down. I think they're not afraid to really put it down here and put a number on this team, because no one's really talking about Oregon too in the national landscape. It's a lot of Indiana, a lot of Ohio State. Georgia's playing hot right now. So I think Oregon's going to show out here. Not a lot of people watching, and the ticket price is very low, but I think they're going to put a number on JMU if they could. If JMU could keep it close, it's got to be early. But I have seen a lot of support on JMU, which I was a little surprised. And this number might close below 21, which I was also thinking it was going to maybe be 23, 24. So the market is really telling you something here. So that's why I don't feel as confident, but I'll be gladly taken under 21 with Oregon here. I think they blow the doors off.
Well, basically, we could do one of two things here. I could either agree and take Oregon big, and we could put out for the first time this season joint picks here, where we're in agreement on the four against the spread, or I could take James Madison with all the points. This is tough. I really don't know. I agree. I think either way, like I think James Madison has the team to keep this thing closer, but I also know that if any of these teams want to blow out a team, especially, we've seen it before with Oregon. I think that if they get out to an early start, they could just, like you mentioned, the Oklahoma State game, not exactly what came to mind. I think they will try to run it up. I hate to do it, Paisley, but I'm gonna take all the points with James Madison. As much as I wanted to put out the exact same picks. Am I confident? Not really, but I do think they are good enough where they could keep this thing a little closer. And I'm also hedging on maybe Oregon, just looking past JMU a little bit. I think they are focused. I think it's good that they're not in the spotlight, because, it's the opposite of last year where they come into the playoff number one in the country, expecting to win. They were undefeated. They win the Big Ten. Whereas now they weren't even in the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State, Indiana stole the show. You're right. They're a little under the radar. And I think they're kind of focused on bigger and better things. And I think they are capable. And I'm taking James Madison with the points, not really a sell on Oregon, just more of, I think they're looking maybe past them. I think James Madison, this is their biggest game really in school history. Although I think they did claim a national championship just a couple of years ago. But nonetheless, I do think this is a huge opportunity for them. I think that, they're going to be just a kitchen sink type game. I think they're going to come out playing their best football. Try to, throw Oregon off guard here. Maybe we get an onside kick. Maybe we get some deep shots, play action, whatever, trying to get some points on the board, some, covered zeros, maybe, I don't know, to try to keep this thing closer. I think Oregon wins, but, if I get 21, I'll take James Madison. I'll say that.
No, it's fair. And yeah, I think I forgot about last year and how that season ended. So yeah, they're definitely looking for some vengeance. And one thing I'm going to be interested to see with this Oregon team, because we saw them last couple of weeks, but they were not too healthy. So now they got 2 weeks. They got a lot of guys coming back, some of their key pieces. So I think that's also something that's not really being factored in. And then just lastly, with these games that they really blown open, Montana State, first week of the season, 59-13, Oklahoma State, 69-3, Oregon State, 41-7, Rutgers, 56-10, and then Minnesota, 42-13, just some kind of similar-esque opponents. But I love Dan landing in these spots. We'll take it game by game after this if they can obviously get past this game. But I just love teams that do well against these bad teams, and just love to beat up on them. They're at home, not have to go neutral site or anything. So I think this will be a fun one. But again, for viewership's sake, hopefully maybe it stays a little bit closer. But I'll be go a little boring here, go a little chalky myself. But I like that you took a JMU, and it would have been easy for our graphic design person who does our picks. So, but we're going to make it a little bit harder on them, which is also us that does that. So we're fully funded company here.
Fully funded, not sponsored by Buc-ee's. Even if you're watching on YouTube, Paisley's wearing the Buc-ee's hat, no affiliation. All right, so that's our games. We got 4 games, first round college football playoff games. It is exciting. We are going to be back on hopefully Sunday night with the recap. If not Sunday, Monday, take a look at the videos we'll post on our X when we're doing that. But we're going to do the full recap of the first round, probably talk a little bit about the quarterfinal matchups. And then, of course, we got a ton of bowl games kind of starting early next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all week. And then I think next weekend too. So got a full slate. I know this one was quicker. It's just been a pretty busy week and not a ton of, action to talk about. So appreciate you listening. If it's Saturday and, Alabama, Oklahoma may already be over, whatever, but looking forward to recap. And yeah, we will be back early next week.